Hello. Podcast peeps. What's up? How you doing? Appreciate you for joining us again. Yet another one. Episode 7 now in 2018. So we're pretty much doing this thing every week, and appreciate you guys for joining us every single week. The audience keeps expanding, as we say, every week, and the ways to watch and listen to us expands every single week. In case you didn't know, it's My Fantasy Podcast, MyFantasySportsTalk.com. And I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Reed. My other host is Dan Shaw. He's over there in Buffalo dealing with crazy weather, 60 today, and it's going to snow Friday. So how you doing, Dan?
Fantastic. It's, we're used to it here in Buffalo. So, 60 degrees today, and we're expecting, depending on which weather forecast you're looking at, 6 to 12 inches of snow on Friday, Thursday night into Friday. So it should be a fun Friday commute.
That's getting too late for snow like that. Man, we were just talking off camera where I complain here about golf weather because it gets too hot in the south, really, because if it's 95 degrees, I'm not playing golf. It's just too hot for me. I'm not trying to turn pro. I'm not trying to get my PGA Tour card. So if it's 95 or hotter, plus the humidity of the south, I'm not playing. So the window is very short to play golf in a comfortable weather around here. So I'll probably start in the next couple of weeks, honestly, while you're still scraping snow off the driveway.
Let me ask you this, Brandon. If Tony Romo asked you to play a round of golf with him and it was 96 degrees, would you play?
Yeah, probably so, because he could teach me some things on the golf course. It's sure, I guess.
I had to get our weekly Tony Romo fix in. So
now, you did it pretty promptly too, but yeah, why not? Yeah, I like the dude. He's a good dude. Would he drink beer with me?
Oh, of course, yeah. Miller Lite, I think, is what his beer of choice is.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. I thought he was, kind of on that Josh Pastner side, just a little bitty nerd. And I wasn't even sure that Tony would drink beer like that. But okay, great. So, we got Cowboys talk on the show today, Dan. That's for sure. With some news that came out yesterday that we've been talking about really for years, but I guess to do with Dez Bryant. Actually, I got 2 Dez Bryant stories for you today, Dan. Can you know what they are? You know what the second one may be?
Does it revolve around my cat?
No, but he's here. Dez the kitty, or she is there. I always get confused. Is the cat
Dez? For those that don't know, I have a cat named Dez Bryant. It is a female cat.
So that started off messed up from the get-go.
Yeah, she just roams around in the background. You'll see her pop on camera every once in a while, and that's Dez Bryant. And she can catch treats just as well as Dez Bryant can catch footballs.
Okay, well, I saw another story. Maybe you didn't get wind of this about Dez Bryant today, but we'll go over that. We'll talk about that. A lot to get into today. A lot of news to just talk about. We got mailbag questions from you guys, of course. We got NBA fantasy talk. We got NFL fantasy talk. Just a whole bunch of stuff. Wrap up the Winter Olympics. And a big trade went down and finalized in our fantasy basketball league today, Dan. We'll talk about that a little bit, and just a lot of stuff. We're going to bring Orlando in here in a second, but just kind of briefly the rundown. We're going to talk about what's going on, what's happening in the world of sports, all that stuff I just mentioned. The Dez catch. That's where we're going to start off right there. The Dez catch. NFL came out and announced that it probably was a catch. Oops, my bad. They admitted that, the rules committee. So we're going to talk about that. And we've known it the whole time, though. It was a catch. Stop being stupid. NFL free agent list. We're going to go through that today. Who's out there? Who's hot? We'll talk about that. Who might be going where? Who's the best catches for some of these teams? Like I said, NFL mailbag questions, NBA mailbag questions, and what's on myfantasysportstalk.com. I can tell you a lot of that is draft profiles. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome. I love it. This is my time to shine on the site. I pride myself as a draft enthusiast and kind of like a scout, and that's how I watch film hours every day. And I bring my scouting reports out, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback, a lot of not so good feedback. We've had Luke Falk. I talk about him every week. Brandon, you didn't even know who he was, and he's got some loyal followers, and I just don't see it. But another one I don't see, Arden Key brought out his scouting report today. He is going to be a bust, so you better hope your Titans don't get him.
Well, another one that we are going to talk about, though, and I actually did some tape on Dan was John Walford. So did my own little film study there.
You, well, yeah, that's our new breed.
Yeah, because I didn't know who he was, so I had to figure out who this dude is. We got questions about. So I don't keep up with ACC football much. So there you go. But our man from San Antonio is here. So he is Orlando Torres. So a couple things real quick, Orlando. You had an audition after the podcast from last week. Want to know how that goes. And, dude, what's up? Kawhi ain't playing tonight. I mean, is this happening? Is it not going to happen? What's going on?
No, as of now, it's going to happen sometime in March. So that's
tomorrow.
Yeah, well, sometime in mid-March. I don't know how soon they're going to bring him back, but apparently, I don't know, there's some sour grapes or something going on, something that's going on behind closed doors, because Kawhi hasn't really spoken much on the whole incident, and neither have the Spurs, local stations, and I think I've seen on ESPN too, when Popovich is asked what's going on with Kawhi, he just refuses to answer. He just says, we'll answer that point when we get there. So it kind of leaves pretty much nothing for you just have to guess kind of what's going on. So they left kind of like a sour taste, in the mouths of Spurs fans.
Tough pulling info out of Pop anyway.
Yeah. So the good thing is he's already back in San Antonio. I don't know if he's been medically cleared to play, so now it's just a matter of when.
I'm playing daily fantasy tonight, and man, I threw Rudy Gay in there. Am I going to be disappointed? I mean, I know he's kind of on a minutes restriction, but I needed a value pick, and I need him to do something. If he can just get me 20-22, I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, it's a value pick. That's not bad, but I don't think you could expect too much of Rudy Gay, especially he's just coming back from injury.
And he's scoring, though, man. Powell's not playing tonight, I don't think, so somebody's got to score the points.
Yeah, no, they're giving a lot of the younger guys minutes, like preparing them for bigger roles. They just been injured. They have no more room on the bench for any injured players. So getting Kawhi back is main priority right now. Just finding scores. You got New Orleans tonight, and they've been, Anthony Davis has been tearing it up. So yeah, they need to find scoring from somewhere on that team.
So you were late to the podcast last week because you were in Dallas, so had an audition. What was that about? How'd that go?
It went great. I got there early, got to enjoy the city, and overall went well. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go back because it's shooting next week, all from Monday through Friday, and I have midterms next week, and I wasn't able to work out something with them. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to work it out with them. But the thing is, they're still, it didn't end bad. The opportunity was there, and it's just the timing was off.
It happens, but you made the attempt, and it's always a growing experience and learning experience, and it'll happen next time. And you won't always be in school forever, man. You won't always have those exams, so the whole world's going to open up to you. So.
Yeah. So, it was still a great experience.
And anytime you get to go to Dallas and hang out with all those, got some owners in trouble in Dallas here with Mark Cuban and Jerry Jones, and just it's chaotic. The world is chaotic, man, and nobody's safe anymore. Not even Josh Pastner. I don't understand it, but so where do we want to start today, dog? I don't know, just talk in general. I got so much on the list here. Olympic talk. Let's start with the Olympic. Let's do some Olympic recap and just talk about what's going on in the world of sports. So I'll tell you, man. I guess I'll let Dan go because I managed to skate through. You like that? Skate through these whole Olympics and not watch 1 second. I didn't even see highlights. I didn't even see 1 second of highlights. Not a drop, Dan. So tell me about the Winter Olympics. How did they go?
You are just un-American is basically what you're saying. I mean, you get a lot of hate on social media for views that I tend to agree with most of the time. But just hearing that you didn't watch a second is that's unpatriotic, or however you want to say it. So that's great. Thanks, Brandon.
So were the Americans' performance worth me tuning in, or were they okay to miss? Answer that one.
Well, for me, I don't watch it just for the Americans. I mean, I root for them to win, but I just like watching these type of sports that you don't get to watch a whole lot of, and the greatest athletes compete at the highest level. It's just something that I like, and overall I like that. I mean, USA didn't. I think they may have finished 5th in the medal count. They had some surprises. USA men's curling team won gold, where that was the first time ever for that to happen. So that was definitely special to watch. And there were definitely a lot of performances that you can look back on, whether it be skiing with Michaela Schifrin, Lindsey Vohn's final Olympics. She only took a bronze home. So there's different performances that, you just enjoy, and you're never going to be able to see that again. So I like that the Norway, I think, came away with the most medals. The Norwegians take those winter sports seriously, and it was fun to watch. And the cross country skiing towards the end was something that I was keeping a close eye on, and I enjoy that type of stuff. I know you might not, but it was definitely good to see, and it comes around only every 4 years, so it's worth to tune in during that time for me. And I like America, so.
Go America. Orlando?
I didn't get to see many of the games outside of snowboarding, but I did Saturday night. I was able to catch up. I was able to watch the second half for the most part of the Russia and Germany, the hockey game, and went into overtime. It was I don't know much about these players. I don't even think the majority I don't even think these guys are playing in the NHL, but overall it was a super competitive, and it was a fun game to watch. I don't know if it was something they mentioned that it was the first time Russia has won, I think, this tournament since like 1992. So it was a pretty big thing, and overall it was a fun game, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not a big hockey fan, but I enjoy watching hockey when I get to watch a chance, and watching these two teams go at it and seeing a thriller like that, especially going to overtime, was really fun.
Yeah. Even when Nashville was in the Stanley Cup last year, I mean, I had a pretty somewhat vested interest to even keep up with that, being somewhat close to Nashville and being a kind of a hometown market, so to speak, outside Memphis. But I just don't get into hockey, man. I had a hard time even following that, so I'm definitely not going to keep up with the Winter Olympics hockey. I don't know. The Winter Olympics is just not my thing, like I said. But Dan, I just noticed something. Did you get a new picture on the wall back there? Is that new, or I just missed that?
No, this is actually a plaque. It's tough to see probably a little bit with the lighting.
It's Astros.
It is. It's actually a World Series plaque that was sent to me. I would like to say by the team, but it was actually sent to me by the website that I write for the Astros. So after they won the World Series, they sent me that butte, and I decided to mix it up, put it up, show some respect as baseball season is happening, and I can't be more excited for it.
Hey, that's kind of cool and ironic, because in honor of you, I wore my only Houston Astros shirt today. Can't you tell? The orange. No, it's really not. It's not a Houston Astros shirt. But
no, well, that's great. Thanks. But hey, I hope you're studying fantasy draft on Sunday, and
this Sunday.
This Sunday, where are you been?
I just thought you said some Sunday in March. I didn't realize it was this Sunday.
Oh man. Oh well.
I'm not even in a league, and I knew it was this Sunday.
Oh well, thanks, Orlando. See.
Hey, no sweat. Give me 2 hours, mostly 2 hours of prep time.
You're a busy guy. I don't know if you can clear your Sunday night schedule just like that.
That's true. But no, I didn't realize that. I will have to study it a little bit. Why so early? Man? We're not even through the Grapefruit League.
Well,
I need at least the Grapefruit League.
You're going to draft somebody, and they're going to go down with a season-ending
injury.
And then you're going to come at me and just shove you the hate that you spew on a daily basis towards my general direction.
Exactly. See, I don't agree with this. Until the Grapefruit League is over, I don't agree with this. No. A lot of what I do fantasy baseball wise depends on what happens in the Grapefruit League. So
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That's terrible strategy.
Yeah. I thought that was the strategy.
No, that's not. It's not.
Okay, so last week on the podcast, we talked about Marcus Peters. Chubby Roberts proposed a question, and I could not look more foolish. Dan, you didn't look great either. I don't remember what Orlando said, but I don't think any of us really thought this was a realistic possibility. And I'll be damned if it wasn't the next morning they traded Marcus Peters, the Chiefs, that is, and made me look completely foolish. I don't know. Do you agree with it now, Dan? I don't even know what they got. What did they even get in return?
Fourth and a second.
But the second's not even this year, so yeah.
Yeah, 2019. Yep. Mm-hmm. Listen, I mean, Marcus Peters obviously didn't have a whole lot of teams that were willing to go after him. The Chiefs contacted every team in the league, and only 3 teams were willing to put in offers. So Marcus Peters, I think, as a value perspective, I don't think the regular fan base of NFL fans understand how bad he is in that locker room. And, he couldn't work for or play for some of the coaches. From what I've heard, he wasn't really liked amongst all teammates. Some teammates really did support him, but there was definitely a rift there. So the Chiefs getting something for him, I guess, is good. But for the Rams, I mean, if you can get him right in that locker room, maybe this trade kind of gives them a refresher. It's a great trade for the Rams. They get a top 10 cornerback in this league for a second round pick and a fourth round pick. So that's not bad at all.
Hey, look, I don't care what he's like in the locker room. NFC West be put on notice because they got Aaron Donald and Marcus Peters now, along with other guys. But God, dog, they're going to be putting pressure on the outside, rushing the quarterback. And if that quarterback isn't very good and lofts one up there, Marcus Peters is going to be running it back on you. So, that defense is going to be tough. Just get it together, man. I don't know. I believe there's always a way to find a chemistry and make things work in the locker room. He's still a young guy, maybe it won't, maybe it will, but I think the Chiefs gave up too early. And I'm done on the Chiefs, man. They're not making the playoffs next year. Would you agree with that, Dan? Is there any way you see the Chiefs in the playoffs next season?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes goes Tony Romo on us. And
With who?
Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce. Who knows if they pick up another playmaker in the draft? I would like him to see him get a legit and wide receiver 1 to complement Tyreek Hill on the outside. And I think Patrick Mahomes is special, so I'm not ready to count him out just yet. And Andy Reid is a great regular season coach, so I mean he can put wins on the board in the regular season.
Like for a couple of months. Okay, they're going to have to score 35 points to outscore because their defense is just depleted. They have no defense anymore. So I don't know. You better become the Rams offensively, have that kind of turnaround if you really want to be. They're not making the playoffs next year, man. They're just not. I don't see it. I don't see any way that franchise is going down. And to me, Andy Reid should have been gone probably after what happened in the playoffs this season to the Titans. I've seen that circus before. I've seen the show before. I'm out on that. Orlando, what do you think? As far as dumping Marcus Peters for a second and a fourth, and the outlook for the Chiefs now.
I mean, after reading the story that came out, I mean, I can't blame the Chiefs for trying to get rid of that cancer in the locker room. That was to them. The talent, obviously, you're going to miss the talent, but just the character, they're better off without. So I do like it for LA. If anybody could get it right, it is McVay. And you're completely right about the NFC West. Put on lookout with the Rams. They could have used a better defense, in that game back against Atlanta. Now they have that. If Marcus Peters could get that chemistry and could shaping up his character up a little bit. And I'm not going to say the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, but just like Danny, still got playmakers. If they do make an attempt at the playoffs, I mean, they're not going to get very far, but I'm not going to rule that out. They still got Kareem Hunt. You got Spencer Ware coming back. I'm not a big Spencer Ware fan, but he's there. Him being healthy on the field is definitely going to benefit Kareem Hunt. You still got Kelce. And then you just look at the conference in general. I mean, the Chargers are going to be there. The Raiders are going to be there. But if the Broncos don't land a guy like Kirk Cousins, I mean, you don't feel too good about the quarterback situation. Those wide receivers are aging. Aqib Talib might not even be there. So they definitely have a chance, I think, in the AFC West to get a shot at the playoffs.
There's just too many holes that I see, man. Just too many holes. I know the Raiders are going to be better, and the Broncos are just a quarterback away, basically. And there's a lot of unknowns. First of all, I don't know 100% that Kareem Hunt's going to come back to the way he was. Sophomore slumps happen. I mean, you just don't know. There's always a chance he gets hurt if he gets enough carries, and if he doesn't, then again, that's Andy Reid's fault. And I mean, there's a lot of folks that ain't too high on Tyreek Hill. I'm not. I don't know. He's kind of up and down too. So I don't see that offense immediately kicking it into gear with essentially a rookie quarterback instantly like that, and then you got no defense to back you up. Just the way I've seen this defense dismantled over the past 3 years or so is just I don't know. It's just going downhill. It's sinking ship. I don't see that they're not going to win that AFC West. I just don't see it. But I don't know. I disagree with you guys there. I say work out because that's you just got to cling on to that defense if you're the Chiefs. That's their calling card. That's their staple. Now it's gone. So we'll see. But yeah, made me look a fool. Appreciate it, Chiefs. Yeah, why didn't you tell me that last week, Dan? Like, that's for sure going to happen. He's such a cancer in the locker room, dude. He's going to be dealt tomorrow. But you didn't.
You tried to sway me with your propaganda, and I bought in a little bit.
It happens. It happens. I'm a propaganda slinger. Okay. What else is going on? Hey, news today. I know one of your fantasy favorites, Orlando, Matt Forte, is done. He's hanging it up.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit saddened by this. I mean, what the Jets, he had a couple of games, but overall, Matt Forte, he was a great player. Just he had the one NFC title appearance with the Bears when there was the Bears and Packers. But overall, you gotta feel bad for a guy like Forte. He had a great career for what he put on in Chicago and a little bit in the Jets. But overall, he played on some bad teams. He went to some coaches. He never Jay Cutler's early years, I guess, but he never really had a stable quarterback. But I don't know if he ends up in a Hall of Fame or not. But he was overall a hell of a player.
There's another one. There's a couple here. One I really didn't see coming. I don't know. Maybe you guys did. But Jonathan Stewart was released in Carolina. Was that a for sure going to happen, Dan?
Yeah, I think it saved like 3.5 or 3.75 million off the cap, and he's over 30 now. They have Christian McCaffrey. They can get another guy for him. I'm not too concerned with it.
Did they use McCaffrey enough last year for you to see that you think that they are convinced that he's now their guy, or is there still a piece missing there?
No, I think you're going to see McCoy or somebody. I think they view McCaffrey more as outside the tackles runner in the receiving game more than a basher in the middle.
Yep, for sure, and probably the best for him too, in his longevity in the NFL. But we did talk about this last week. Mike Glennon, the Bears. Well, I don't know if it's official yet, but I mean, we keep saying they will cut him, so he's going to be cut. So that 1 year experiment there, and maybe we talked about this last year. Any value for him? Anybody want to take a chance picking him up?
Oh yeah, I still would. I still think he can be at least, if nothing other than a serviceable backup. You can have him start a couple games due to injury if need be, and I think he can win you those games in the regular season.
Yep, I just saw this afternoon though. Also, Cleveland says that they're not going to draft a quarterback with the intentions of throwing him out there right away in year one, but they are still open to getting a quarterback either 1 or 4. So probably the best thing, right? I mean, this cycle in Cleveland, man, that's why I'm just like, don't even try this. I would almost rather feel comfortable with Mike Glennon as your starter, just an experienced guy to just get you through it, draft some more talent. And it can't turn out any worse. You didn't win a game last year. It cannot turn out any worse. I don't know. Orlando, what you think about Cleveland?
Yeah, no, this cycle just keeps going on. I agree with you, actually. I think it'll be best, to go after a guy like Mike Glennon, who we were just talking about, a guy like that who they just serviceable and, build your team around. They still need some wide receivers. I don't know what's going on with Corey Coleman. It feels like the team has kind of gone sour on him. He can't stay healthy. He's still relatively young, but I don't think he's going to be the guy that they drafted, who they thought he would be. Their defense is coming along pretty good, but you got to shape up that running game. I don't know how much longer Corral is going to be there. Tight end, we still need to see a lot from, and their offensive line. So they got way too many holes into quarterback to be their primary thing. When you could go out and get someone relatively cheap, and spend those first round draft picks overall to beef up your team and worry about that later.
I think we said that last year, though, too. But it's just the sexy thing to do. Then it's probably what the fans are clamoring for, because you're always looking for that next franchise guy, and it's usually the quarterback position, the high profile position, and you're just taking that chance every single year. And unfortunately for Cleveland, they keep sucking every year, so they have a chance to take a very high profile rookie, and it just keeps not working out. For whatever
No,
reason.
that's true. But they could ultimately do that. But then you bring in this guy and throw him out there, and you really don't have a team for him to build around. So that kind of makes it hard on the quarterback too. You can't completely put that on the quarterback. So it's just a mess with their train of thought in building a team down there. More likely they're going to take a quarterback anyway. So I mean, it's just a matter of who would win.
Yeah, they will. And this is also why, Dan, I'm very skeptical of every quarterback coming out into the draft, because we saw hype around Deshaun Kaiser last year. He was moving up draft boards. They thought, well, this dude could really be a pro style quarterback. This could be one of the top 3 guys in the quarterbacks coming out of the draft. It just didn't work. So I'm just very skeptical of every quarterback. You never know.
Yeah, well, that's why you got to get your draft news from My Fantasy Sports Talk, because we did not have Kaiser shooting up any kinds of draft boards. We had him as a future bust in the NFL, so he's going to be nothing. And you could have,
but as a second rounder, I mean,
we didn't agree with that. My Fantasy Sports Talk was against that pick. And just back to the Browns for a second with their quarterbacks, I think A.J. McCarron is a perfect fit there. They botched the trade for him at the trade deadline this past season. He's now a free agent, so I think you're going to see McCarron in Cleveland to at least be that kind of starter. Maybe they still do draft a guy, but they don't have to throw him out there right away with McCarron there. And I don't think McCarron's going to be too expensive, kind of a mid-level contract. So I think that's going to be the most likely for Cleveland.
Yep. We'll see what happens. They're just one good David Putney away from striking magic. All right. Another one. The Giants. They are open to trading down the pick. Completely sold on Eli. Eli's going to be the guy. Shermer says Eli is going to be the guy. Got several more good years left in him, so we're not worried about getting a quarterback, and they're very open to trading that pick down. I don't know, Dan, do you think you go someone not quarterback related, like maybe Saquon Barkley slips to you, or like a Minkah Fitzpatrick? Do you do something like that, or do you trade it down? Where are you going to get the most talent to help your team immediately in under this window of Eli Manning?
Yeah, I think we had Alex Wilson on a New York Giants beat writer a few weeks ago, and we talked about this very scenario, and I think we both agreed, you and I, that they should trade down. So I just figured it's common sense to me, and I'm actually surprised the blowback that I've gotten, just in various forms of social media on Giants fans demanding a number 2, a quarterback taken at number 2, and it's just shocking to me. I don't understand. So I think it's logical to trade back. You accrue more talent that way. And the Giants aren't far off. They were a playoff team, in 2016. So, it's the way the NFL is. Any terrible team can make the playoffs the next year. It's not, mind-blowing of a rebuild that the Giants need to have. They have veteran pieces littered throughout that entire roster. So, they definitely need to add some talent. But, you get Eli Manning and Odell Beckham hooking up, and, their receiving core with Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, and, Brandon Marshall is still there. He might not be, but, they still have weapons like crazy. Get a running back. This draft is filled with them, and, talented running backs you can get on day 3. So, the Giants aren't far off, so I would definitely trade down and accrue as much talent and picks as you can.
And of course, depending on what Cleveland does at number 1, and you could get someone really desperate to move up to try to snag one of those quarterbacks that they love. So they could really be willing to give up a lot to either get that home run quarterback or someone who falls in love with Saquon Barkley, and Cleveland doesn't go the way of Saquon Barkley. You really could be in a very good position to get a lot out of that second pick for someone completely desperate, willing to sell the house for that second pick to acquire who they think is going to be the guy. So, yeah, definitely that's the best thing for the Giants. And I'm just kind of glad that they're coming out and saying that, like, calm down on the quarterback talk. Eli Manning's going to be the guy. And I do think Eli has at least another 3 good years left. I mean, unless something happens physically to him, I don't see that he's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So, but yes, it's going to be very interesting. We're going to start putting out feelers for our live draft show. So whoever wants to come on and talk NFL draft with us, but it's going to be a long show again, Dan. It's going to be whatever. I don't even remember how it was, like damn near 4 hours last year.
Yeah, it's I'm going to be a busy boy that night, just sharing my draft profiles and talking about the draft with you guys. So I'm going to be exhausted, but it'll be worth it. It'll be fun. Come join us.
Yep. We will be there. Let's move on and talk about another little something. Dan, Trae Young, what is going on with your boy? What is going on with your boy? You're just ignoring me altogether on the NCAA basketball chat channel.
I honestly haven't watched any Oklahoma games in a while, so I don't really know.
I'm sending you the results every single time.
Well, no, you're just saying his name now, so I don't know what that means. So I don't know how to respond exactly to just Trae Young. I mean, it could have been a positive because he's probably just waiting until he's in the NBA and he's immediately better than Steph Curry. So please elaborate.
His shooting is not good. He's shooting like less than 30% since 2018. I think he was 2 for 14 the other night. They've lost like 7 in a row, 15 of 17. I mean, it's horrible. It's bad. And what happened to the assist numbers? I mean, that's when they were on their winning streak.
Probably suck. His teammates.
Well, they weren't in the beginning of the season.
You know, if he had LaMelo and LiAngelo on the wings, can you imagine? Huh?
Hey, too bad. They were pulled out of school by their dad. They don't have any eligibility. That could have happened, but no. Hey, and how about Shaq's son? Is it Sharif?
Sharif O'Neal, yep.
Yeah, decommitted from Arizona, getting the hell out of there.
UCLA.
Yeah. So, man, Arizona might be in some trouble here. Sean Miller may not last through tomorrow, Thursday, guys. I really might be surprised if he does, because I mean we've got documented multiple instances of FBI wiretapping with him, talking about a $100,000 payment for DeAndre Ayton. So I don't see him really lasting to their next game, to be honest with you.
And that Arizona team now is a mess because they lost Trier again due to another PED suspension, so he's done.
He's done.
So, I mean, they still have Ayton. I mean, they're still talented, but this is definitely not the momentum that you want just with the tournament right around the corner.
And do you know they were one of the prohibitive favorites to make it for sure the Final Four, and a lot of people were picking them to for sure probably in the final game heading into the season. They had it all going, and with the recruiting classes rolling on that they had, I think it's all coming down. It is all combusting, and maybe some of these teams get in trouble, and Memphis can sneak in that NCAA tournament.
Maybe they'll win the American Athletic. I mean, that's the conference tournament. I think that's their only hope.
Keep laughing. There ain't no laughing going on. 4 in a row. Start betting Memphis. No, I really don't, because they did lose their best player. So, but props to Tubby for doing what you got to do. I appreciate it. Not all of us are haters. Adam Silver warns of tanking, and that's a great day to bring this out because tonight it's the Grizzlies and the Suns doing battle. I just realized I got my orange shirt on too, so I guess I'm rooting for the Suns. I should be rooting for the Suns, but this is going to be. I don't know if you guys saw the movie Sergeant Bilko. With Steve Martin in that scene where the boxing match was rigged and the guys both came out and threw a punch, didn't hit anything, and they both fall down because it was rigged. That's going to be kind of like the shooting tonight in the Grizzlies and Suns game. Nobody wants to score. Nobody wants to hit shots. It's so counterproductive to your long-term goals. But, yeah, anyway.
No Tyreek Evans either.
Nope. What is wrong with Tyreek? I think it's an illness.
No, I think he got hurt. I'm pretty sure. He stubbed a toe or something.
He's on your fantasy squad. You'll have to go back and look. I don't think it's anything serious. For some reason, I was thinking it was illness, but I don't know. Maybe I'm mixing him up with somebody else. But yeah, no Tyreek Evans, so you got to worry about that, Dan. But yeah, anyway, Adam Silver came out and said that there will be punishment heading your way if there's any, I don't know, proof of tanking. How do you even prove that? This has been going on for years. I mean, there's no secret, and you got a log jam of guys trying to really tank and get the lottery pick this year with, of course, Grizzlies, Suns, Brooklyn's there. Who else really sucks really bad?
Dallas.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 teams that are all kind of hunched up there with about 18 wins. So you got a lot of teams fighting for that. But anyway, how do you control that, Orlando? How do you if you're Adam Silver, how do you monitor or control a team tanking unless their owner just comes right out and says we're tanking?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to control. I got to think you got to pay attention to on the talent, like injuries that we're just talking about it, and the way the teams are built for that game. I know, like for instance, you said Evans isn't playing tonight. And then you look over to Phoenix, and they don't got T.J. Warren playing tonight or Tyson Chandler. Both teams are on 10-game losing streaks. It's kind of hard to monitor that. I'm going to say more than likely Phoenix goes on to lose 11 only because his game is in Memphis. So I will give the edge to the Grizzlies tonight, even though I know you're more likely rooting for Phoenix. But something like this is pretty hard to contain, and I just think you just want to make sure the teams are out there, and they don't have a lot going on this season, but they still at least need to perform for the people that are going out there and at least supporting them, the fans who are showing up.
That's the tough line to cross here because we were looking at some Grizzlies tickets earlier today, guys, and they're going pretty cheap. You can get
were they on Groupon?
No, I didn't look there. I looked on StubHub.
I heard they had some tickets for a hot dog and a beer and a Grizzlies ticket for like $10. I don't know if that's true or not.
No, that's probably true. Now I don't know where that seat's going to be, but I'm talking lower. I'm talking lower level, lower bowl seats for really good seats for $35-$40.
Wow.
Yeah. So and typically they're at least 3 times that much, but it also depends on the game too because. Man, I don't know what it is about Lakers. Lakers are a draw. It could be the crappiest damn Lakers team. Almost like now, who really wants to go see Grizzlies Lakers at this point in the season in March or April? But those tickets are skyrocketed. But you can get if it's not a very good matchup at this point, you're going to continue to see tickets fall like that. So you get a pretty good value if you really want to go see an NBA basketball game. You just don't know who's going to be playing on the team at that point. But tonight, I think it's just a matter of does Devin Booker want to score 40 and does he start out hot? Then they might have to pull the leash on Devin Booker. Whoa. Because I think he's going to be the biggest scoring threat in this whole game tonight. So it depends on how hot he gets. He's the one that could go off and just win a game accidentally, because I don't think it's going to be Gasol, and it's not going to be the other young guys for Memphis. So, yeah, we'll just call that the Lotto Cup going on tonight between the Grizzlies and the Suns. We'll leave that right there. I'm going to transition back into some NFL football and a very hot topic that we have discussed over the last couple of months, over the last couple of weeks of the NFL season. And this particular thing goes back several years for these Cowboy fans. And it's what the hell is a catch in the NFL revisited. This time it's the Dez catch. Let's talk about that. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from myfantasysportstalk.com. You do it every single week, so I don't know why I got to tell you what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You know where you find us at, so keep on doing it. We appreciate it. Brandon Reed, Dan Schalk, and Orlando Torres is here. So now I'm going to turn it over to these Cowboys guys. I've kind of been the just the sympathetic ear, and voice for these guys. Not really anything, not a Cowboys fan, it just kind of comes and goes. I care less, but I hate the injustices of the NFL since the implementing the stupid continuation of the catch rule in 2011, I believe it was. But the rules committee, they're meeting, they're talking about this. They know it's something has got to change. It's obvious. And so they came out, I think it was last night, and just said, that Dez Bryant catch in 2014, It probably was a touchdown. That probably was a catch and a touchdown, or at least a catch anyway. And Cowboys may have got screwed. And then you guys take it a step further and say, well, yeah, it wasn't just that. They probably would have won the Super Bowl, at least had a really good chance. And I can't even argue with that. So does it make you more mad, Dan Chalk, now that the NFL is coming out and admitting this?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it impacted the Cowboys franchise in so many ways. If that was a catch, Tony Romo would still be playing and being the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys right now. I have full confidence in that. And I think that's what hurts the most is, that was his best chance to show that he could win a Super Bowl, and I have full confidence that they honestly would have. I mean, they were the most talented team. That was the year that the offensive line just clicked and dominated, and DeMarco Murray was able to run all over teams. And Tony Romo, he got shafted of being the MVP that year. He was better statistically than Aaron Rodgers in almost every category. It's tough to even think and talk about. But that play impacted the Cowboys franchise in more ways than just that game, even more ways than a possible run at a Super Bowl. So it's tough to swallow that the NFL comes out now and says, yeah, that was a catch. So it's tough.
We all knew that. This thing has got so far out of hand since they implemented this crazy sports science rule. It was all basically due to the addition of super slow HD replays into the game of football. They're like, well, if we can see it, let's follow it out until the very end. We just don't have time for that, and it's getting away from football. If you want to do that, it's almost like in NBA, let's just say the NBA, if you want to take slow-mo replays and let's just say in a guy's dribbling and how high he comes up with the ball, you probably could have called carrying or travel on these guys if you're doing a slow-mo replay and see that he was, under the ball or, however high it's got to be before it's actually a carry in the NBA, or did his pivot foot slide just a little bit and we didn't think it did. Well, it actually was a travel because we slowed it way down and blew it up 8,000% in slow-mo HD replay. You can't do that. You just can't do it. The game has got to be more instinctive like that. And to me, it's just a catch is bam, bam. 2 hands on the ball, 2 feet on the ground. And at that point, if your knee hits the ground, then, I know there's got to be a football move in there somewhere, but it's too much. It's just too much. And I have all confidence now that they will correct this, especially after admitting that the Cowboys got screwed. You weren't real happy about it, Orlando, were you?
No. Just like Dan. How it feels. Just feels like you had a gash and it's already sewn up, and they just came and took off the threading, opened up that gash, and just poured salt all in it.
Yeah,
and that's exactly how it felt. Yeah,
and that's and also this is bigger. It's bigger than the Jesse James thing, which I hated because what was that, a week 15?
Yeah, that's I don't know how that. Yeah, that was definitely a catch. Yeah,
but that's week 15. The Steelers got over it. They made the playoffs. It didn't affect them like this. But you're talking about a playoff game, and I kind of agree with you guys. That was the pinnacle. That was the peak of Tony Romo, and they probably had their best team they've had. I don't know, in probably a long time since the 90s, since the early 90s Cowboys teams. And that really blew up a huge opportunity. It's sad.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. More likely they would have made a Super Bowl run. I don't know if they would have went on next week and beat Seattle a second time that season. I would think that they would have. But, we don't know. And it's a shame that because it was just – not just that game. Overall, it was a great game. In Lambeau, they were promoting that game as the frozen tundra or something like that. Too. They're all week on NFL Network. They're playing that first game for when it was frozen, and they had all this hype, and for it to end on this controversial call, which is ridiculous, and for that case to not be put to rest till a couple of days ago, it's just It's ridiculous. I think one of the lower moments of the NFL.
And it really, it pretty much destroyed a great game for me. That's the thing. And, the Super Bowl catch was going to be like that too. And that was even later in the game with the Ertz catch. If that was not a touchdown, I was going to flip and lose it. And I think it really would have been a consensus that, okay, well, that just ruined this game, regardless who you're rooting for. You want to see back and forth action like that. Kind of like that North Carolina-Miami game last night or night before. You see that when Joel Berry hit the three to tie it up and they came right back down to hit like a 40-footer. You want to see that bang, bang, bang. I had no rooting interest, but that was the best outcome that game could have ever had. That's just that would have ruined that Super Bowl. So, and I think they got word already, because you already saw a couple of calls, in that Super Bowl, which one Dan disagreed with, one Dan did agree with. I agreed with both of them, but I just think the word was in their ear, like, don't F this up. Let's pull back the reins a little bit on this, and let's have the action. Let's have the scoring. So, Dan, that part two of this, which fits in, I don't know if Orlando saw this, but kind of a part two Dez Bryant question here is, what's going on with Dez in Dallas? Because I'm seeing words that there was a story actually up on ESPN right now, and the title is that Cowboys choose words carefully in regard to Dez Bryant's future. And then Stephen Jones came out and said that they don't have any meeting scheduled with Bryant's agent to discuss reworking his contract. Is there any ruffled feathers in that locker room with them too? Could be a separation in the works here?
I don't think so. I think you're going to see Dez in a Cowboys uniform next year. Rumors of the Cowboys wanting him to take a pay cut. Dez has come out and said he's not going to take a pay cut. I don't think the Cowboys are even going to go to him to ask. I think they would like to, but overall, I think they're just not going to let him walk. So I don't envision him being cut. I think the Cowboys need to get a solid wide receiver number 2 to complement Dez a little bit better than what Terrence Williams, who can't catch a single ball with his hands. He's body catcher Magoo, and he's not a good number 2. I mean, we have the slot guys in Switzer and Beasley, so you need a legit number 2 outside. So I'd keep Dez and get somebody in the draft. I think that
is Miles Austin still out there?
He's on the coaching staff.
Is he?
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only that, I know Dez said he doesn't want to take a pay cut. I think if push comes to shove to stay in Dallas, I think ultimately Dez will take a pay cut. There's just frustrations. He came on and said he played injured. And not only that, I mean, I'm still growing on Dak. I like Dak. But you watch the game, you watched the season, Dak last year. Once Zeke was gone, it was just dreadful to watch how many balls just flew over Dez Bryant's head. I mean, you could blame Dez all you want, but a lot of those balls weren't accurate. So I know Dez said he doesn't want to take a pay cut. The talent's there. He's getting older. It'll be nice to see maybe they move him to a slot guy. He's getting a little bit older. I think that might benefit him a little bit more in this stage in Dez's career. We'll see, but it's hard to see him go and just put all the blame on Dez.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you guys a tip in Madden, which I discovered real recently, that Dak's not very good accuracy level in Madden either. It's not very good. Don't try to throw too many deep balls with Dak Prescott. There you go. There's your Madden tip for the podcast. We were talking several it's probably over a month ago, maybe a couple months ago. I don't know. We're analyzing the Cowboys for some reason, and we're talking about tight ends. The one name I couldn't remember that it finally just came to me, probably in the middle of the night for no damn reason, was Gavin Escobar. Whatever happened to Gavin Escobar?
He's been off the team for a while. He bounced around. I think he was with the Chiefs for a little bit, Dolphins, but
I thought he showed flashes, short, like flash in the pans, but and then he just kind of disappeared. So
those flashes were like eggs in the pan. They weren't nothing special on the football field. So Rico Gathers, that's the name you need to know, because that's the tight end in waiting.
Basketball baller. He's a basketball baller.
Next to Antonio Gates.
Could be. There you go.
No, he is.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I got you. Let me write this down here. Next, Antonio.
You're learning. There we go.
Gotcha.
Huh? Especially when it comes to draft talk and Kaiser shooting up draft boards.
Okay, while I got my pen out, we're going to clear a whole bunch of time in the back end of the podcast for you to give me a bunch of names in fantasy baseball, since the draft is this Sunday. So how many more years has Witten got left? Is he done?
One. Yeah, I think this is going to be it.
I mean, why is he still playing?
Because he's glory that is football and he's life, and it will never be the same once he's gone.
He slipped to number 2 behind Gathers this year, though.
No,
he should. Fantasy wise,
No.
I would say yes.
No, he's just Mr. Reliable. It might not produce fantasy numbers, but it's a fantastic job on the football field.
You better be in a PPR league. If you're in a PPR league, it's also with the transition to Dak Prescott, his numbers have fallen off too. It's just not that kind of offense anymore, man. But anyway, the father time of the NFL right now, Jason Witten. So, but there you go. There's your Dez Bryant news. So free agency. Just some of the top list as a free agents, and you got a Cowboys up there at the very top of the list, but I do not see this guy slipping out of town, DeMarcus Lawrence.
No, yeah, he's going to stay, franchise tag, hopefully work out a long-term deal.
So you got to filter through some of these names just because they're not going anywhere. Le'Veon Bell, no chance that he goes anywhere, right?
No.
But that's basically all the Steelers are holding on to right now. Their franchise hinges on having that great back. Andrew Norwell, guard, Panthers. Now, these are the guys you may see moved. But if you're the Panthers and if you're Cam Newton, you're probably lobbying very hard for Norwell to stay aboard.
I think he's going to go to the Giants. Gettleman brought him to Carolina. They need help on the offensive line. And the Panthers just don't have the cap room, I don't think, to be able to re-sign him. He's going to be paid like one of the highest guards in the league. So
sorry, Cam, but that would be a great move for the Giants. Definitely, 100%. Breeze, they'll rework a deal with Breeze. Jimmy Garoppolo, they'll rework a deal with Garoppolo. So many of these guys are 26 years of age. Le'Veon, DeMarcus Lawrence, Norwell, Garoppolo, they're all 26 years of age. Malcolm Butler, what happens with Malcolm Butler? No chance he's back in New England, right?
I don't think so. That would be very surprising after that latest game.
And I still don't understand the story. Every time someone speaks on it, the story changes. You had some players saying that he knew all week he was not going to play. So I don't buy, like the weekend or the night before with the weed and the curfew, unless that happened like 2 weeks ago or prior to the Super Bowl and he was suspended. But I don't know. That's some bad blood right there. Morgan Burnett from the Packers is up. So anyway, but who kind of sticks out at your mind here, Dan, as someone who might at least, top 12, top 15 guy that may be moving destinations? Kirk Cousins for sure will be, but
yeah, I'll go back to my Cowboys. Anthony Hitchens. I personally don't want him back with the Cowboys, but there are some that will. But I don't think he's going to be back. He's going to command a big chunk of change. I heard the Colts are very interested, so he can go head their linebacker core up. But he will not be back with the Cowboys. I would be very surprised.
Ezekiel Ansah. There's one that sticks out. The Lions. Muhammad Wilkerson. What did I see about him today? They would not re-sign him. Is that what I saw?
He got cut.
Muhammad Wilkerson got cut?
Yep.
That's what I saw.
Second year or something, or third year into his
second year. Yeah, you're right. To his 5-year deal.
5 or 6 years, $80 million contract.
Josh Gordon, Allen Robinson. These are two intriguing guys. Does Josh Gordon pose any value to anyone anymore? Does anyone even know that? If the answer to that, and then Allen Robinson. You saw the success Jacksonville had this year without him. But, I mean, he's definitely one of the top-tier receivers. I mean, he's listed in this particular list as the 20th top-ranked free agent out there. So, what do you see there, Orlando? Josh Gordon, does he propose any value left? And would it be smart to let Allen Robinson bounce if you're Jacksonville?
I mean, as far as Josh Gordon, I think it would be smart for Cleveland to kind of keep him. You kind of got that veteran guy. If he could stay out of trouble, obviously, with the league. But I think he's still got some talent. I mean, he's getting older. Missed out on some good years when he was out of the league. But overall, I mean, the talent's still there. You didn't see it right away. But if he doesn't stay with Cleveland, I think we're going to see other teams maybe not target him as their primary guy, but he'll be on a team right away. Josh Gordon's just too good to leave out on free agency, and I think the same thing with Robinson. Even if Cleveland, if Jacksonville doesn't bring him back, I don't think he saw that success because Robinson was gone. They didn't have to throw as much. You got Fournette there, and just what they did. And Blake Bortles isn't the most accurate quarterback either. Even when Robinson was there, how many balls were getting overthrown past Robinson? I mean, we know Robinson could be a pretty wide receiver one. The talent's there. It would be nice to see if Jacksonville does resign him. I think that does help. But I mean, if Robinson and Jacksonville decide to go another way, same thing with Gordon and Robinson's a lot younger, so you're going to see him on another team right away. I would think.
Yeah, I think so. As far as Robinson goes, for sure. Some folks may just be living vicariously through Cleveland with Josh Gordon saying, no, we've seen how that worked out for you. I don't know, but so what do you think, Dan? Josh Gordon, does he pose any more value in this league? And then would you want to see kind of a season 2 or volume 2 of this Jags team with Allen Robinson and see what can happen then?
Yeah, I'd lock up Josh Gordon in a second. If he would come to Dallas, without a doubt, I would love to see him in a Cowboys uniform. I think, when you see him on the field, he's a legit wide receiver one.
So what kind of salary would he be demanding at this point, not having really played at all in the last
year? Yeah, well, I think that's what's great about it. I don't think he's going to demand too much, but you can certainly give him, maybe not $10 million a year, but I'd be good with a $7 to $8 million a year contract. Not a long-term one, but, if you give him a 2 or 3 year deal, $15 to $20 million, kind of approve it and put a lot of incentives in there. Then
that's probably worth the risk. It is. What's the Cowboys cap space look like for this next season?
Not good at all. So it's not really realistic, but you never know. One can hope.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you there. Especially if you're really desperate in need of just talent, and you do have some cap space, and yeah, throw a flower out there. I kind of agree with your number. I don't know. I don't know what his agent would be asking. I don't know what they think his value would be. They can't be really shooting for the moon at this point because it's just not realistic based on his prior history. And then anyway, Allen Robinson, what do you think about that, Dan? Would you think that would make because Jacksonville has already came out and said Blake Bortles is their guy. They're locked in. That's going to be the guy. I forget what we were talking about earlier this past season. But what kind of difference could he make if they re-sign him, or is he going to be really hot on the free agent market with a lot of teams looking to steal him?
Yeah, I mean, coming off an ACL injury, you never really know. If I'm the Jaguars, I'm not too interested, to be honest with you. I like their receiving core without him. You still have Hearns, you have Marquise Lee, you had Keelan Cole, who kind of showed up out of nowhere, and, of course, D.D. Westbrook. So I like kind of what they have. Maybe add in a game-changing type tight end. Might be nice for Bortles, kind of that safety net.
Is I think they cut Julius Thomas, didn't they? Or he will not be back.
Yeah, he was also with the Dolphins.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Sorry. Yeah, that's a couple years ago. Yeah, I'm sorry. I skipped. Yes, I think the Dolphins did cut Julius Thomas. Yes.
They did. Yep. You heard that on My Fantasy Sports Talk, along with Lawrence Timmons. Was also cut by the Dolphins. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't overpay if I were the Jaguars. So I don't think you're going to see him go after Allen Robinson too hard.
I think somebody should, though. I mean, I really think there is potential there. Another guy who's creeping, he's in the top 25, I'd say, according to this list, and I would agree with that. Sammy Watkins, is he going to bounce again? Was that just a 3/4 of a year rental right there with Sammy Watkins? Because I don't know if you could say it really worked out or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they might franchise tag him, I heard. So that's still a possibility. But yeah, he might go somewhere else. They might try and work out a deal. That's what I mean. Honestly, that's what makes free agency fun, is because it's kind of harder to predict in the NFL to me than a lot of other sports.
Yeah. No, I would agree too. I mean, I don't think it was that bad in LA. He got traded during training camp, so he wasn't going to come in and make an immediate impact. But you give him another year, He's compliments Cooper Kupp. They got Todd Gurley going on, so a lot of the pressure really isn't on Sammy Watkins because the team they got, and then they just got Marcus Peters on that defense. So, I think they could find something that they wanted to keep Sammy Watkins again. See if they got something going on in the future.
Yeah, he's still a young guy. He's only like 24 years old. So I mean, you just seems like this guy's been in the league forever. But he hasn't. So I don't know. Yeah, it's probably worth keeping. But anyway, there's a lot of names out there. Just kind of throw out a few of those, and we'll find out really soon because we're about to start getting what contracts can be finalized coming up here in the next couple of weeks, I think. In free agent period. When's the free agency period really kick off, Dan?
Sometime in early to mid March, I think. So it's coming up. It's coming up pretty soon.
The next couple of weeks, a lot of this stuff will be shaping up. But you're seeing a lot of guys now get cut in some moves, and people are just clearing room already. So you're going to see a lot of moves there, and it will all be really coming to a head here right before the draft, mid-March. So have a lot to talk about there as far as NFL free agency. It will be interesting. What I did like about that list, I just kind of skimmed through, Dan, of the top 25, 30. I didn't see really any Tennessee Titans that are really critical of re-signing mode. So I guess that's kind of good.
Yeah, good for you, Brandon.
If you're a Tennessee Titans fan. And we are going to talk about them and with the cap space they got. So we'll see what John Robinson's cooking up in just a little bit. So let's get to that. We're going to answer some NFL mailbag questions. That's next on the agenda. So let's do that. You're listening to My Fantasy Podcast. You're also probably watching My Fantasy Podcast. That's probably what you should be doing. You should probably be listening and watching. Anytime you see us on, that's probably what you should be doing. But My Fantasy Podcast, it's coming to you from myfantasysportstalk.com. That's also some place you should probably visit every single day if you're not already. But we appreciate it. I'm Brandon Reed. Dan Schalk is here, and Orlando Torres is here. So NFL mailbag questions. Let's open it up, Dan. Let's open it up wide, like Santa Claus on 1 a.m. on December 25th. Okay.
All right. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Let's do that. So we got a Thomas Samuel Ball. Fair warning. He's going to flood the show today. Okay. He's going to flood the show. So he flooded the show so much that Dan had to ask him follow-up questions and get follow-up responses. You don't just submit one question. Dan is like, well, let me ask you a question. So we'll start out right here, but it starts out like this. Will the Patriots make the playoffs in 2018? I think the Bills will win the AFC East in 2018, and the Dolphins will get a wild card. Thomas Samuel Ball. I'm going to let you take it first, Dan, and let this whole dialogue between you and Thomas play out. So go ahead.
Yeah. So shout out to Thomas. We share sports ideas back and forth on Facebook. He's I guess the moderator or admin of a couple Facebook groups, the Rough House and an NFL Draft Talk group that I'm very active in. But Thomas, he has some crazy ideas. And the Patriots not making the playoffs to me is one of them. I respect it. That it's a bold statement. Especially for the Bills to win the division in my eyes. And my first thought when I got this was like, okay, we could definitely talk about this, but I need to know how the hell you have the Bills winning the division. So my follow-up question to him was, who is their quarterback? Quarterbacking the Bills to this division championship, something that hasn't happened in decades.
And who did the Patriots lose in the meantime?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's with you and thinking Tom Brady's not going to be able to stay healthy, although, Brandon, we're still waiting. Still. So maybe he's on that train. But he had an even more interesting response when I did ask him who was going to quarterback. Exactly what he said is, this may sound crazy, so he knows it's a little crazy. But I like the idea of bringing back Ryan Fitzpatrick as their number 2 quarterback and maybe having a Sam Bradford as their number 1 and then getting a guy like a Mike White out of Western Kentucky or Jeremiah Briscoe out of Sam Houston State and compete with Nathan Peterman. So that's a whole slew of quarterbacks right there. I think you can cross Fitzpatrick off the list. I understand he's a decent backup, so having him as a number 2 makes a little bit of sense, but I don't think Buffalo's going to want him back.
Well, and how many quarterbacks are you going to keep on that roster?
Yeah, well, I mean, somebody's going to be getting cut there for sure. So I think Peterman's a lock to make the roster next year. Sam Bradford is a number 1. Obviously, he doesn't have Tyrod Taylor there, so he thinks Tyrod's going elsewhere. I think he likes Tyrod to I don't know if it's the Broncos. He likes him somewhere. I do forget. But Bradford, he's realistic, but he's not one to stay healthy. So that's, I guess, why he has Fitzpatrick. And then a couple of the draft names that he mentioned, Mike White out of Western Kentucky. I do like him. He's a sleeper pick, a 3rd to 4th round guy. And Jeremiah Briscoe, a guy that I've actually personally been able to meet at Sam Houston State. He's more of a project, so a 6th round pick or maybe even later, but he can groom. But none of those guys are going to be really ready to take over right away. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Sam Bradford, can he lead the Bills over the Patriots in the AFC East?
Orlando?
If they could get it, no. Sam Bradford, no. I don't even know if he lasts the whole season. If they get him, if he lasts the whole season healthy, so no.
Is that why he's been so quickly dismissed on the Vikings? Because most of the rundowns of everything I was analyzing the Vikings, and not one person had him even in the conversation of the Vikings starter for next year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead. I mean, the health has a lot to do with it, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the main thing. I mean, from what I've seen from Sam Bradford when he's healthy, I mean, hell yeah, I think he's one of the top guys he could play. He could throw. He's not very mobile, but it's just staying healthy. That's the main thing. If I knew that about Sam Bradford, I would give him a chance. But other than that, I got to say no.
Well, it's not to get too far off topic, but this particular article I was researching is it was ESPN writers, but it was a good group of them. But half of them had Kirk Cousins going to the Vikings, and the other half of them had Teddy Bridgewater being the starter for the Vikings next year. So that's just why I was kind of confused. I mean, if it's health related, don't you have a little bit of concerns about Teddy Bridgewater too? But I'm telling you, a good percentage of them had Teddy Bridgewater as the Vikings starter next year. So I don't know, but so go ahead and continue, Orlando, with this scenario.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just don't know how the quarterback situation is going to play out. I don't know if they go after a guy like Bradford. So it's kind of really early to emphasize on that. I don't think the Bills come out of the NFC East. I mean, the AFC East. They just got too many holes to fill. I mean, look, LaShawn McCoy, he's going to be 30 by next season. You look at the wide receivers. Who they got, the depth, the tight ends. Like the whole team they need a shake up in that organization. So the quarterback is, it's a main worry, but it's also like one of the least worries going on for the Bills and for them to compete with a team like the Patriots. So that's all I've got for that.
That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't mean that in complete disrespect. I mean,
they did make the playoffs last year.
Yeah,
that's true. They did make the playoffs. I mean, that is completely true. But overall, I mean, some of those guys, it's just it's going to just be different. I think. I don't think they're going to repeat that. I mean, it was good that they made the playoffs, but then a lot of people would argue that they shouldn't have made the playoffs. It should have been the Ravens. I mean, but for what it is, I just don't know if they get to the playoffs again.
Well, I'll start at the top and go work my way to the bottom, I guess. As far as the Patriots missing the playoffs, I don't see it unless you're going to tell me 100% that either Tom Brady or Bill Belichick will not be on that team next year. I mean, they were a 13-win team this season. And as long as those two guys, those key guys, because that's really the only consistencies we've seen in this dynasty that has been going on for 18 years, guys, is Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So unless you're telling me one of them is no longer on that team next year, then they're going to make the playoffs. Your Bills, though, I would agree. I guess it's his Bills. He's a Bills fan, Dan?
No, he's actually a Ravens fan.
Oh, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he's the same one asking us about the Knicks talk a little bit later. What? Okay, he's weird like you, Dan, just all over the place. But okay. But yeah, the Patriots going to make the playoffs. Now, as far as the Bills go, I do think they'll be in that conversation because they are bound and determined to get themselves a quarterback. And I think they will eventually, or else people like Ryan Thomas, Thomas Take are just going to lose it. They're going to blow a gasket here. So I think they will. And plus, coming off a playoff run already coming off a playoff season. So they're right there. They have the talent to navigate that AFC East. They just need a quarterback, and I think that will solve a lot of their issues. So I think they'll be in that conversation. But he goes on and mentions, what do you say about the Dolphins? I'm off that bandwagon. So I'm not a Tannehill fan. I'm not sold on Tannehill. I don't like the weapons around him. Not really Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry fan. And outside that, they don't really have much else. Are you telling me, what do you think about Kenyon Drake, Dan? You like him. Okay. Well, I think their running back core is thin. They have no tight ends, which I skipped ahead. That's what I was going to get to. Julius Thomas is now gone. I don't know who is the second guy as far as tight ends go on that list. I don't know. I think they're pretty thin. Even if you like Kenyon Drake, even if you like Devontae Parker and Jarvis Landry, I don't see much behind that. So I'm just not a Dolphin. I'm not sold on the Dolphins by any means, and I don't see it. I actually think the Dolphins will finish last in the AFC East next year because the Jets were right behind them, and the Jets are bound and determined to get a quarterback and do something there. So I think the Jets and the Dolphins will be battling out for last place in that AFC East. So, but your quarterback scenarios are a little crazy, Thomas. I don't know how that'll work out, but I think they will do something. But I don't know why you bring Fitz back. Is Fitz even going to play next year? And where is Fitz?
Harvard.
He may be. So anyway, and I don't know. Or do you like either of these guys, Mike White or Jeremiah Briscoe, Dan?
I have a little bit of a bias towards Briscoe, having met him personally. So yeah, I'm rooting for him hard. Mike White, I haven't gotten to his full film yet. I've watched a couple games. He's got a strong arm. He performed well Senior Bowl week. So yeah, I mean, there's some sleepers. I don't think they're going to be studs, but let's compare him to a Mike Glennon out there. Something like that, like a backup who might be able to work his way to a payday that he doesn't deserve, type thing.
Orlando, is Jeremiah one of the Briscoe brothers of Ring of Honor, the wrestlers? Is that Jay and the other guy's brother?
If he is, I haven't heard too much about it. But
hey,
then again,
from Texas.
I was about to say that's not a common name, so that wouldn't be so surprised.
Dan has no idea what we're talking about.
Nope.
There's a famous wrestling family with the last name Briscoe. So I don't just anyway. I don't know.
They like their move is a smoked brisket.
No, but are they not from the Texas area?
No, they're from East Texas. So yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're related somehow. But like again, in Texas, Briscoe isn't a very common name. So that would not be surprising.
No, could be. I'm going to research that. You didn't see that in your film study, did you, Dan?
Nope. There was no smoked brisket in my film study.
All right. Well, let's move on then. So let's go to Nick Pertins. Nick's back, guys. Hey, fellas. Long time no talkie. I found this article, and I found it very interesting. Brandon, what are your thoughts? And what position players do you want us to target in round one? Nick Pertins. P.S. to this one. I know you guys always want the fans to join the MFST fantasy leagues. Do you guys have one going for baseball? We never jumped at it. Honestly, we were too scared. Not scared of Orlando, though. Let me know if Judy and I can get in. And we got breaking news. They're in, Dan.
They are in, and they are I like it, man. See, this is what we don't get in with a lot of our fantasy leagues is some smack talk. And I don't know if you've seen this, Brandon, if you've logged on, but the Pertins posted a message when they came in, and they are smack talking Orlando, who's not even in the league, and I love that. That's fantastic. So Orlando can't even see it, but they're smack talking them, and I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a great year. Probably our number one fans, the most communicative to us. And it's cool to be able to now interact with them in fantasy, in a league like this. So I'm looking forward to it.
But be warned, we're cutthroat. The friendliness is over once we get into this fantasy league. Because
Nick, let me just tell you, don't make any trades with Brandon. He's only going to cause hell in your life. Okay.
Not if he's not the commissioner. I only cause hell in the commissioner because there's shady stuff going on.
Oh, okay.
Shady stuff. The committee meetings will happen though. They'll happen. But anyway, we're out for revengeance. Me, Dan, and myself, Nick. Just fair warning because we were cruising. We were both cruising all season long last year, and then lost in the semifinals to two fans of the site who ended up Susan Bianco and I forgot the other guy. But anyway, they ended up meeting for the chair. Is that right, Dan? It's Susan Bianco, right?
Susan Bianco won it. Yep,
Susan Bianco won it. Yeah. So one of our female of the side. What?
The Sues. You know.
The Sues, yeah. Susie. Okay. So yeah, but congrats, you're in. It'll be fun. And I guess maybe we should do a weekly pick'em baseball segment. Orlando can get another title here. Get the folks off his back. I mean, you got a pick'em title, and they're still jumping on you, Orlando. You're gonna have to win something. You should have jumped in this baseball, man. You can figure it out because I never played before last year, and I made the top 4.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but it's all right. We'll say that for next time. But I mean, I was pretty amused by the Nick Curtis trash talk to begin with. I was like, what is it? Yeah, I don't know if he knew that I wasn't in or he was expecting to just come in and just stomp on me. I don't know what his train of thoughts were, but I found it pretty amusing.
Well, his call out to you in the fantasy league was asking where the heck you are. Are you scared? Something to that degree. So,
or is it Nick and Judy is in, or are they sharing a team?
They are sharing a team. Their team name, I think, is like the Nick and Judy Show.
I like that. I like that. That's what was my next question. What their team name was. And tell the folks at home what your team name is, Dan.
New Breed wishes he was me, which is very true. All my fantasy titles, I'm just building up. Just beating them. So of course, New Breed would want to turn that around and wishes he was the victor. So, in reality, do you?
Look, I'm already the victor. If you're naming your team after me, I've already won.
Did you see my logo? My logo is a picture of you too, shirtless.
Great. Okay, well then I've already won. My year has been made, if I mean that much to you, Dan. So now I just got to put some players on the roster and see how that works out starting this Sunday. Anyway, okay, so Nick was alluding to an article that came out. It's talked about several things, Dan. This is almost too much to handle, but so the Titans are getting a new logo, getting some new uniforms that's going to be unveiled with a concert by, I think, Georgia-Florida Line or Florida-Georgia Line. I don't listen to country music, whichever one it is. It's some kind of concert, but I don't think that's happening until April. But anyway, look for some new logos and new uniforms for the Titans this year. So it talked about that, and also talked with John Robinson about being aggressive during the trade season and maybe even free agency too, but just being aggressive and look for them to be making moves, which John Robinson has been doing since he came in. Have no doubt about that. But as far as the uniforms go, I like the idea, but I'm also a little scared because you could really screw this up with an ugly uniform that you're stuck with for a while. Like Jacksonville, I don't know how they still have that helmet. I'm sorry, that's the ugliest damn helmet I've ever seen in my life, the stupid two-tone helmet. And I don't know how they haven't ditched that already, but don't screw this up. I'm a little scared. Now, as far as being aggressive with the trades, I believe John Robinson, I believe he will be aggressive. And, that's his forte. His forte may not be hiring personnel. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, he definitely can add talent. And I think he needs to add it. I don't know. It's hard looking as far as Nick's second or last part of this question. Who would you want us to target in round 1? Man, I really don't know where you go at this point because I kind of like everything we got going on, but I don't know what may be in Robinson's head. But it also is going to depend on the schemes that Mike Vrabel wants to implement. And I saw a scary quote, another scary thing, a scary quote in that, Dan, that maybe this is part of what Nick is talking about. But there was a quote by John Robinson saying, we're not necessarily looking for the most talented players, but the right players. So we want the players that are going to fit, not necessarily the most talented players. If you hear your GM saying that, isn't that always a little scary, Dan?
Yeah, but you also like that. I mean, you know, you're not going to bring in bad players who can affect that locker room like a Marcus Peters, so that would, you know, take players off the draft board. I like that. I think, listen, the Titans, I think, whether it's trade up, maybe they will be aggressive in that sense, but I think they got to take best player available, no matter where it is. I mean, preferably, I would like it to be on the defense. You know, the defense definitely improved, but now with the new coaching staff, who knows how they're going to adapt. A guy that watching film, I actually think would fit into a 3-4 type, because I'm guessing that's what Vrabel's going to run is a 3-4. Do you know that for sure, Brandon?
Defense? No, I don't really know.
Yeah.
All I did see for sure that they're changing things up a little bit. He's going to prefer a zone blocking scheme on the offensive side, so maybe they need a little bit more athletic offensive linemen, or maybe you plug a piece in here or there that could run a zone blocking scheme a little bit better. So maybe they have maybe they're looking at issues there. So, but that's the only thing as far as scheme that I read upon anyway.
So, I mean, I would think defense would be a focus, maybe like a Rashad Evans out of Alabama, who's more of a blitzing rusher, but he can also play inside, do some coverage. So he's kind of a do-it-all back, but he really is solid rushing the passer. And I think that's kind of what the Tennessee needs more than anything. They need to get after their quarterback. I think their secondary is kind of built up a little bit now with Adoree Jackson. You got a couple of the corners signed. Your safeties buyers are good. So I think they need to rush the passer a little bit better. So I would target that more or less in the first round.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I think if you could really shore up one particular area is maybe add another really good safety, maybe another edge rusher. I think their linebacker core is actually pretty good. But I guess my first notion is, I would really every team would really like to beef up their defense, and they did a great job last year. Dick LeBeau did a really great job from basically turning that defense into about the 30th worst or the 30th ranked defense to about middle of the road. And that was great. But I guess kind of right now is what I'm a little bit scared about is to add as much talent on the offensive side of the ball so that your bonehead ex linebacker can't even screw that up. Just you have so much talent on the offensive side, and just roll with it, just whatever it takes. But again, I mentioned before, what I do like is they have $50 million in cap space. So they got some moves. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe you're not looking, as far as the 25th pick, is so much movement during the draft time, but I look for them to be busy during the free agency period, and maybe make moves that way, and maybe finally be in the free agency hunt for some of these guys that they're going to target with as much cap space as they have. And they're a playoff team now. They're not that, sorry franchise from a few years ago that really no one wanted to go to. It's a little bit different now. It's a playoff team with a new organization, possibly a new scheme, with money to spend. So I think that's good. I think that's a bright point. But first thing I had, Dan, is as far as needs go, best talent available. I think this is what you got to do. If you keep your pick, or regardless of where your pick is, they got 6 picks, best talent available. Because I do think you're right. I think they're kind of built up all around to where they're not really having any glaring bad weaknesses. That I think you're okay there, and you're just at this point you're best with taking the best talent available. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm really interested. I remember the date correctly. I don't remember, but I thought maybe like April 24th. That's probably like draft weekend, right, Dan, or draft week?
Possibly.
So I think it was April 24th of when that concert or whatever big kickoff that they're going to have to unveil the new uniforms is going to be. So I'll look forward to that, and then we'll see what happens in the draft and free agency period here coming up real soon from them Titans. But appreciate your back. Got you back on the show, Nick, submitting questions, and appreciate you for joining us, our league. I don't know how good you are at fantasy baseball, but we'll find out real soon. Draft is Sunday. Talk to you then. We got one more NFL mailbag question. Now, let me skip over here. This one comes from Kenny Anders. What are your thoughts on Wake Forest QB and draft hopeful that I talked about earlier, John Wolford, from Kenny Anders? So, draft guru, tell me about John Wolford, because I didn't know until I saw film today. who he
Yeah, I
even
mean, you're
was.
learning a lot of quarterbacks' names this offseason, Brandon. Luke Falk, John Wolford. I'm going to teach you quite a few more because there's some that I'm diving deeper into. Do you know about Kyle Lauletta?
Kyle Lauletta, the name is familiar. Remind me.
He's a quarterback.
For
Richmond
who?
Richmond Spiders.
Yeah. See, I know the name,
Got
but
up
no.
Senior Bowl. He had a good Senior Bowl, but okay. Back to John Wolford. Kenny
You had
Anderson.
one extreme West Coast. You had one extreme East Coast of those guys. I don't know. Why would I ever know them? I'm sitting here right here in the heart of the South, in the middle of the U.S. So no, I don't watch that Pac-12 football. I don't watch that ACC football.
Okay, thanks. Just a question.
Okay, well, I watched film today, and maybe this is why. But go ahead.
All right, John Wolford, 4-year starter at Wake Forest. He doesn't have the ideal size that you look for a quarterback. He's 6 foot 6'1" on a very good day in heels, 200 pounds soaking wet. So he definitely doesn't have the typical size. But his senior year is kind of when he was able to evolve and get it. He played consistently year 1, 2, and 3, but the 4 is where he finally put it together. 3,000 yards. 29 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. And watching his film, I haven't dug into every single game. But he has decent arm strength. It's not anything that's gonna blow you out of the water. He is accurate to some degree. Whether or not he actually gets a chance, he's my number 1 ranked quarterback prospect that didn't get invited to the combine. So when you're not invited to the combine, you have an uphill battle, and I think that's kind of what he's going to face. You're going to see him be lucky if he's a day 3 draft pick. I think he's probably going to go undrafted, and he'll have to fight his chance, onto an NFL roster. So, he has that ability. He's supposedly, from what I've been able to read on him, he's a good hard worker. He's intelligent with schemes and progressions and being able to understand playbooks. So that'll definitely help him, his mental game and his work ethic. But his physical tools don't stack up when you look at a lot of the elite quarterbacks in this class. His arm comes nowhere near Josh Allen, accuracy nowhere near Josh Rosen. His mobility, he's got some escapability in the pocket, but he's not as athletic as a Lamar Jackson. He's just a kind of a guy that performed very well in college, and they don't always translate to the NFL, but I think he's going to get a shot. He's going to get a UDFA contract offer after the draft for sure.
I think there's a chance there, and this is just from the very limited film that I just did today. But no, I was not familiar with this guy. And you mentioned the arm strength. To me, he almost looked like a freshman in high school out there playing at the college level, because every time he threw the ball, he threw everything he had in those throws, almost to the point of throwing that arm out on every single throw. And when he ran, it looked like the kid from the Little Giants running for his life. Okay. Not the greatest size. No, you're right about that. But the intangibles that you mentioned, as far as smart in the film room and the precision that he showed this year, I think he's just going to be one of those guys that was a really great college quarterback that just is. And then you see this in basketball all the time. It's just there's great players in college, and there's just guys that just don't have that tools that makeup to be professionals and do this and continue doing it as a professional. I don't know, man. A lot of what I saw said undrafted. So I don't know from just what limited stuff I saw. But I swear, when those little legs are moving, man, when he gets out of that pocket, he had a little bit of speed, but like I said, it's like the kid in the Little Giants. And just every time he throws it, it looks like, damn, he just gave it everything he had to throw it. Now he could throw it. I saw some, fairly accurate deep balls. But man, just looked like he was throwing everything he had into it. But I'll tell you the number one thing why I'm not sold, and I'm off this guy, because I don't know, you probably watched this too, but there was a highlight package I saw of him that was cut to the Beatles' Eleanor Rigby. That's not highlight music. That's just a turnoff right there. That's like someone putting milk in your tea without telling you. That's just a turnoff, and that's just not sexy. So I lost it right there. I had never seen anything. Did you see that one, Dan? There was a highlight, about 4 minute highlight package, cut to the Beatles' Eleanor Rigby.
I don't watch my film with sound on, so No, I didn't hear it, so I may have watched it. I don't know if you remember this name, if you follow East Carolina football a lot, but a couple of years ago, there was a guy, Shane Carden, who kind of lit up the East Carolina offense, and it was kind of an NFL draft hopeful. Didn't really catch on. I think he was signed as a UDFA by the Bears, but that's who John Wolford reminds me a lot of, is Shane Carden. So whatever that means to you, there you go. But thanks for the question. The Kenny is another commenter in one of the draft groups that I'm pretty active in, so I appreciate the feedback, the questions that he submitted.
Yep, possibly Mr. Irrelevant. I don't know, maybe. I don't know, but a lot of what I saw said undrafted. But no, I was not familiar with the guy. But I love, watching the film and hearing Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. So way to go. I don't know who cut that highlight. Maybe that's what I need to get in this. I need to cut John Walford some new highlights, Dan, with some better music. Then maybe we'll see him shooting up the draft boards. It's a possibility. But we got NBA mailbag questions to get into, so let's do that. You are listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from myfantasysportstalk.com. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us all the way through the show. I know you've probably been waiting for NBA news and to hear about my blockbuster trade, so we're going to talk about it. I'm Brandon Reed. Dan Schalk is here, and Orlando Torres is here. So, made a blockbuster trade this week, Dan. I had the number 1 pick in the draft back when we drafted. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been on my team. I've been hit with the injury bug. Had to get rid of Mike Conley. Had to get rid of Kevin Love. I was cruising at some point during the season early on, but had to make a move. So, I want to get your take, Dan, on this trade. And, bragging aside, of course you're going to win the championship, Dan. We all know that. I mean, you're the best team by far.
I am.
Last year's champ is not going to be touched. But let's just talk about little old me right now, okay? I just want to know your honest opinion. So this is the trade. I traded Giannis Antetokounmpo for DeMar DeRozan and Otto Porter Jr., 2 pretty good guys for one. For me, who is hanging around 4th in the league right now, I think if the playoffs started right now, I'd be the 4th seed maybe. I don't know. Not really any chance to miss the playoffs, I don't think, at this point. But my team just wasn't trending in the right direction by any means. So traded Giannis Antetokounmpo for DeMar DeRozan and Otto Porter Jr. It finally went through after another round of veto votes probably. But anyway, all that aside, what did you think about that move, Dan? Was that a good move?
It's tough because you want my honest opinion. My honest opinion was it does not matter because my team is so good. But to answer your question, I guess I like. I mean, those two are going to put up more points than Antetokounmpo combined in our head-to-head points league. So, I definitely like it. But giving up the Greek Freak, I think it's always somewhat of a risk. You never know.
I wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't.
Well, that's true. That is true. You were plateauing. You were like the gum on Orlando's shoe. So yeah, you weren't going anywhere. So yeah. I mean, you had to spice it up. You had to add a little Emerald Bam into your team. So it makes sense. I like the effort that was put forth. So yeah, you never know. It was weird that you made the trade on the day that DeRozan came out and said he's dealing with depression. So
I became a fan. He's battling a lot. It's, just because you're wealthy and a superstar doesn't mean you don't battle through some things.
But it meant maybe a little bit of a risk. So you never know.
No, not at all.
And Toronto down the stretch. What if they lock up home court? Well, they're probably not going to. They're going to battle for the number 1 seed. So that doesn't make any sense, what I was about to say. So yeah, good trade.
Yeah, I know it was because here's the thing. Okay, so Antetokounmpo is very, very capable on any given night of putting up 70 fantasy points. Okay, but DeMar DeRozan and now Otto Porter Jr., since John Wall is no longer on that team for the rest of our fantasy season anyway, Otto Porter Jr. and DeMar DeRozan are both capable of putting up about 40 points a night. So I'm basically adding more versatility on my team, more depth on my team, and I think I'm coming out on the higher side of the point total just about any way you can slice it. Because to be honest with you, DeMar DeRozan, his point total is not going to be too far off the Greek Freaks on any given night. And like I said, without John Wall taking up a lot of points in Washington, then Otto Porter Jr. has got a huge piece of that. If you look at it, he's not really scoring less than 40 fantasy points on any given night ever anymore since the Wall injury. So I think that was a pretty good deal. Orlando, what do you think? Would you have pulled that trigger? Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I'm really surprised the guy took it, but I traded him to someone who is battling, man. He's going to have to turn it up in the last couple of weeks. Tyrone Shoelace Dribblers, I believe, which he actually plays me in the next week. So, but anyway, what do you think, Orlando? Was that worth the risk? Pretty good trade, or you would have stayed pat?
No, I think it was worth the risk. I was looking at it earlier too, and it wasn't even a bad trade. I mean, you had to do what you had to do, and sometimes you had to give up your superstars in order to acquire more players. And I mean, and just overall, when it comes to like trading and fantasy basketball, it's always kind of weird because yeah, you got Giannis. He was the number one pick. You took him number one. You would want him, but I mean, just like what you were saying, point totals. I mean, you're still getting the better benefit out of that deal. So I mean, So yeah, you did what you had to do. You hit a wall with some injuries. So I mean, overall, I like the trade.
And unfortunately for you, I'm playing you this week. So I got one last game of Giannis Antetokounmpo last night.
The week's not over yet. I know I'm down right now, but the week's not over yet.
No, that is true. You are currently down 510 to 367. But yeah, I got one more good last game from Giannis Antetokounmpo last night, who put up 72. So,
yeah.
And now let's see. DeMar DeRozan's at the half. He's got 21 right now, and Otto Porter Jr. just started. Damn. Otto Porter Jr. has 16 fantasy points in the first 6 minutes of the game. Wow, 11 points. There's 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. Otto Porter Jr. has 11 points and a board already. So I think it's going to work out. I needed to do something. Like I said, Mike Conley went down for the season. Kevin Love went down for the season. So that was my second and fourth round picks, I believe. And I needed depth. I just needed some more depth. And so pulled the trigger. So sorry, it's got to be on you, Orlando. But you got a chance. Who you got playing tonight?
I got Westbrook playing tonight. I set my lineup earlier. Yeah. So, I mean, I got a couple of good guys playing tonight. But, yeah, I know I'm down somebody. But, I mean, I think yesterday I only had like 3 guys playing. So
dude, Draymond's killing it right now, too. So, we're 6 minutes into the game. Same game. Golden State's playing Washington. Draymond already has 13 fantasy points with 4 points, a block, 2 assists, and 2 boards in 6 minutes. Man, he just garbles up numbers. He just swallows numbers, man. That's what he does. So you got a pretty good team. And you're battling for a playoff spot, too, if I'm not. You're just right behind me, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting here. There's 2 weeks left in the fantasy season for myfantasysportstalk.com. Hey, Nick Purtons, when you jump in that next year. And we can battle it out for who owns the most Grizzlies on our team. You can have Chandler Parsons, okay? I'll concede that right now. You got Chandler Parsons. No problem. You're welcome. So let's answer some NBA mailbag questions. The first one. Oh, yeah. Thomas Samuel Ball is back. That's why I didn't understand this, Orlando. He was asking about the Bills. Dan says he's a Ravens fan. Now he wants to just talk Knicks. He's requesting that we talk New York Knicks on every single podcast. So kind of a weird combination there. But there's not really much to talk about the New York Knicks anymore, is there, Orlando? Since Kristaps went down, man, it ain't good. It ain't good anymore.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I mean, all they have for them going right now is pretty much just Tim Hardaway Jr.
I like Moutier. I like the addition of Moutier.
Yeah, and you know what? Cornelly hasn't been too bad. I had to pick him up in one league and one fantasy league. I mean, but overall, I mean, they don't have much going on for them. I know right after the All-Star break, Hardaway had like a 37-point game. Then I think just the other day he had a 20-point game. I mean, other than that, that's pretty much what's going on for them. They're 11th in the East, and I mean, they're not even – I don't even think they have a winning record in their Atlantic division. So, I mean, there's not much hope I could give them at this moment.
I think they're 4th in that division. So, But anyway, the question reads as this. If you can, when talking NBA, can you guys give the Knicks fans some hope? Man, we got a lot of work to do. I hope we draft Miles Bridges. Thomas Samuel Ball. And also, he just says, just talk some Knicks. So, Dan, that's what I was trying to figure out. Thomas is conflicted here. Like I said, he's asking questions about the Bills. He's a Ravens fan, but also wants to know about the Knicks, requesting that we talk New York Knicks on every single podcast going forward. And just telling Orlando, there's not much really to talk about. Since Kristaps Porzingis went down, his team has just been bad, but gladly, I was keeping up with that Golden State game the other night, and the Knicks were rolling, man. I was surprised by that. The Knicks were up 64-63 at halftime, and then the third quarter happened, and the Golden State Warriors outscored them 39-16, and that pretty much killed that excitement. But yeah, I was kind of opened my eyes, but I like several pieces on that New York Knicks team. You got to get Kristaps back, of course, and I like what Michael Beasley, for the most part, has been able to do this year. And I like Moutier. I really do. Frank Ntilikina, we'll see if he pans out. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's a scorer. So, but they lost 10 of their last 11, 15 of their last 18, and their only wins have been against Phoenix, Brooklyn, and Orlando. So it's not good. And the slide started basically when Kristaps went down. But looking ahead, so next year, unfortunately, the Knicks are not going to be receiving a real high draft pick because they're not really at the bottom of that lottery right now. They got 24 wins, so they're not going to be getting that extremely high, ultra high lottery pick. So you don't even really have that to look forward to. And they do not have really cap space at all. You got Joakim Noah is going to be making 18 next year. Courtney Lee making 12 million, and neither one of those guys are worth that. So you got a whole lot of guys just making 4 million that are just occupying space on your bench and aren't contributing anything to winning games every single game in, game out. So, but I am glad you guys finally got rid of Carmelo. I do think that was the best thing. I would think it was maybe 3 years too late, and maybe you could have capitalized on that a little bit more. You'd have just been ready to pull that trigger. But I think there is a new era finally coming in Knicks basketball. You saw it at the very beginning of this year. That's why they got 24 wins now, because they started out fairly hot. But it's kind of all faltered again. But looking ahead to next year, because this year is over, I'm still afraid that roster is just a little bit too thin. You're going to have to make some major moves happen, like I said, with limited cap space. So you're kind of in the Grizzlies situation. You need to really move some of those expensive pieces somehow, like the Joakim Noah and Courtney Lee, to me, to try to free up some money, because you're not really going to be doing it in the draft this year either. So, I don't know. Dan, what do you think?
Thomas, I'll give you some hope. Phil Jackson is no longer running the franchise. That in itself is hope to me, because he set them back even further than they've already been set back. I mean, you still have James Dolan to deal with, but let's just say Phil is not a front office guru the way he was able to with coaching. So that's a positive. They do have some nice pieces. I do like Moutier as well, Nick Galina. Obviously, KP, if he comes back, you have a solid unit that you can kind of start to build around.
Cantor, I forgot about Cantor. Cantor's actually not bad.
He's just so bad on defense. He's only limited. He's what he is. He's not gonna come in crunch time of the playoffs when you need him. So he's a nice rotational piece. To talk about Miles Bridges, I think he would be he's a solid draft pick. Obviously, if Trae Young can fall into the Knicks' lap, I think that would be perfect. He would shine in New York City because he's instantly better than Steph Curry. So, yeah, I mean, they have some hope. It's going to be a long road still. But, there's some optimism that can be had if you're a Knicks fan. Not much, but some.
I've tried, Thomas, but I don't see it just because you're so strapped with cap space and the talent isn't there right now with what you got to really compete. But you don't really know until you regroup and come back next year with a healthy Kristaps Porzingis. But there's your double dip, Thomas. Thomas Samuel Ball. You got 2 this week. Let's move on. This is an easy one. We're just going to settle a debate here. This comes from Nathan Adcock. Chris Paul or DeRozan for the rest of the year. Category league, 10-team league. Oh man, this is a tough one though. This is a tough one for me personally, just because I'm heavily vested in DeMar right now. I just believe in DeMar DeRozan. But if I had to pick, I'm going to say DeMar DeRozan just because Chris Paul has to share so much of the fantasy load with James Harden, and then even when Eric Gordon comes back, and even Clint Capella to some degree. So. I'm going to have to swing towards DeMar DeRozan. That was it. That's a tough one, though. And if I had to bet on it, and you never want to talk about this, but if you're thinking injuries in the back of your head, I would trust DeMar DeRozan for the rest of the year than Chris Paul for the rest of the year. If that's in the back of your mind, if you're want to talk about durability, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If your concerns are about durability, then I think DeRozan is going to be the more durable, less scary player out there. Orlando, Chris Paul or DeMar DeRozan rest of the year.
Yeah, same thing. DeRozan. But majority for the same thing you said. I just think Chris Paul has to take a backseat now. He's no longer a number one on the team. He has to take a backseat to Harden. Those guys were DeRozan. Is one of the primaries on his team, and they're number one, and they're in the East right now. So for me, it's not too hard. I mean, Chris Paul. I mean, statistically, assist wise, he's a little bit better, but I would stick with DeRozan.
And Dan, you missed the update just a second ago. I guess you didn't hear me say this, but we're breaking down the scores for me and Orlando's game right now. DeMar DeRozan already has 25 points with 8 minutes to go. That's actually the third quarter. Okay, they skipped on us. So the second half just started. He's got 24, so about on his way to 25. But so does it make any difference that it's a category league?
Yes, 100%. 100% it makes a difference.
There you go.
Chris Paul's the answer. And it's because it is a category league. Points league, 100% DeRozan. But category, Chris Paul beats DeRozan in every single category besides points. And in most, the standard category league is points, rebounds, assists, steals, and then shooting percentage, field goal percentage, and three-point percentage. And Chris Paul beats him in every category except points. So I think it's hands down Chris Paul in a category format.
And a possible injury risk doesn't concern you at all, or the possibility of resting Chris Paul for the rest of the year.
Listen to last year's champ. Nope.
All right, there you go. There's the word. Okay, we got one more. We got time for one more. Thanks, Nathan Adcock. Yeah, so another kind of scenario here is NBA fantasy we're talking. So this one comes from Jack Cerveza. Aldridge and Bazemore for PG-13. My answer real quick is yeah. I'm going to say yeah, just because the Spurs still struggle so much to find scoring with Kawhi Leonard. Probably, I don't know, maybe playing, maybe not. And I like Bazemore. You never know who's going to pick up the scoring slack for the Hawks each and every game. And I'm just not a fan of PG-13. I'm just not. And again, this is kind of like my trading Antetokounmpo for two solid pieces back. I'm going to roll with Aldridge and Bazemore on that one. Orlando, you got a vested interest here.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I have Aldridge. I don't have Aldridge in this league, but I do have Bazemore. I have Aldridge in another league. I was looking at this question. I was a little bit confused as if he would do this. I mean, Aldridge and Paul George. I mean, just looking at their score, he's not too far off. I think Aldridge is a little bit better. So if he has Aldridge and Bazemore, I would just stay still with those guys.
It's not really clear which side he has. He's just wanting us to pick, I guess. But...
yeah, no, Aldridge and Bazemore.
All right, Dan.
Agreed.
That was easy.
Yeah.
I told you these are going to be easy, but yeah, you're getting two solid pieces. Like I said, Bazemore is no slouch, and I'm just not. I don't know. I don't know that I want a piece of that Oklahoma City mess right now. I know Paul George has been pretty solid, but I don't want no piece of that. Carmelo could throw a monkey wrench in that any given night, and who knows what Russ is going to do. I don't know if y'all noticed, though, but Russ's shooting numbers have gone way down. He's not throwing up a lot of shots anymore comparatively to last year. So PG-13 is actually taking some of those shots. But, yeah, give me Aldridge and Bazemore because Aldridge is doing work this year. And like I said, Bazemore is a solid piece. So it's a consensus. It's unanimous. Aldridge and Bazemore there. Appreciate the question, Jack. All right, guys. So that was it. That was a big show. A lot to talk about. A whole lot of stuff crammed into there, but we got a little bit more to talk about because I want to talk about what's going on that website right now. Dan, we got draft profiles. We got Pizza Hut as the new NFL sponsor. We got more draft profiles. We got Matty Savage's Elimination Chamber review and the People's Podcast. Check that out too. We got more draft profiles. We got Lucifer, iZombie, Flash articles, and more on that website, myfantasysportstalk.com. It's booming, Dan. It's just booming.
Yeah. I'm getting my film study on, and we're busting out profiles. I don't know. It's weird. I feel like I'm on a time crunch. I just got to keep doing it because I just keep looking at my list of future film watching, and it's pages long. I'm not even making a dent in how many prospects I want to cover this year. So I got to get working on it, and that's exactly what I'll be doing. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the snow will not derail my trip to Albany this weekend for the MAC championships. Canisius is the second seed. They tied for the regular season championship.
And they got three all-conference players?
3 all-conference. You got Jermaine Crumpton, senior, hometown kid from Niagara Falls. Isaiah Reese, Mr. Triple-Double. And then you had Takal Molson, another hometown Buffalo native, winning. He's going to win Rookie of the Year as the top freshman in the conference, but he made the freshman all MAC freshman team. So I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully this foot of snow doesn't actually come to fruition because Dan do not like to drive in the snow. It's not prohibitive to my safety in life.
It's 60 degrees now. You're talking about a foot of snow in a day or so. So that's crazy. Orlando, what do you want to tell the peeps at home, before we get out of here, before you get to watch your team go down in misery because DeMar DeRozan is just smashing you right now?
Oh, man. Just stay tuned. Keep giving all those clicks, the shows, keep sending in the questions. Dan's killing it with the profiles. I know the entertainment section's always killing it. February and all, I know I haven't put out a lot of stuff lately, but February in general has been just kind of a slow sports month. I know you got cuts and you got other stuff going on. Now it's starting to pick up with the draft coming up and everything going on with the NFL. And I know baseball's coming up and the NBA playoffs coming up. So it's going to start to pick up, but keep sending in those questions and tuning in for our show.
And what happened to the foodie questions? That's what I know. Dan, what happened to the foodie questions?
Where are they, peeps? It's, I'm just not going to make them up and just talk about food with you guys. So I need people to give me some ideas to at least talk about or anything that you want to know what we ate, how we digest the food. I'm going through a cleanse right now. So, man, digestion is happening as we speak in the middle of the show. And, it happens. Cleanse.
Well, can I get this back on track here? Grilling season is about to be coming up. Hey, there you go. The weather's about to be nicer outside. So we started grilling. Maybe that'll spark some ideas for you guys. But the foodie questions have disappeared. So now we're just making up crap. Now you're talking about inner workings of Dan's digestive system, which you guys do not want to hear more about. So you better come up with some questions. Anyway, that's Orlando Torres. That's Dan Schalk. I am Brandon Reed. Until next week, podcast peeps. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate you for joining us. Later. Peace. Peeps.